I'm sifting through I'm kind of a news junkie. So I have a new app on your phone where it has all the news sources you can pick for yourself. There's an article that came out last night in the New York Times about children and obesity. And basically what the study says is they removed raw sugar from children's diets. And in place of the raw sugar, they put in an equal amount of calories of whole grain carbohydrates. And what happened was, in 10 days, these kids' blood pressure dropped and their cholesterol went down. They didn't lose any weight for only 10 days. But the effect of the raw sugar had that high of an impact on their health. And that's kind of what this is all about. Yeah, we all want to look better, and the ancillary benefit is that we get healthier. But you think about what sugar does to you, and that it's in everything that we eat, everything that we taste. This is a representation of what the average American eats in a year of raw sugar. 150 pounds. The average person, 150 pounds of raw sugar. Well, it's 150 to 175. Now, that's a ton. I mean, 1 tablespoon at a time in your coffee, you don't realize how much of it is in everything. It's all over the place. But the point is that in this article, what they're telling us is that a calorie is a calorie is a calorie isn't true. Your body metabolizes different calories different ways. The basics are this. If you eat raw sugar, because it's basically pre-digested carbohydrates, it is in the bloodstream right now. It's overwhelming for the system, so the body produces insulin to make the cell wall more permeable to the blood sugar, so it burns off. Okay? The problem with insulin surge is this, is that we become insulin resistant, and that insulin blocks your body's ability to burn fat with fuel. So we want our insulin to come up in the morning and to drop off throughout the day and be low at night. Okay? The trouble is that we spike it all day long. Insulin surges, insulin drops. It surges, it drops. I was talking to John Perillo about this oil we'll talk about, and he was telling me that they're now calling Alzheimer's the third diabetes of the brain. The brain runs strictly on glucose. And when we become insulin resistant, it makes it where the cell wall is impermeable to blood sugar and brain cells die. And they're starting to treat it with MCT oil because it doesn't use insulin to permeate the cell wall. The molecules are so small that they can get in, bring ketones into the brain cell, and it stays alive. So the point is that we have to start thinking about what we eat as far as what the calories are made from. So I went on in this packet, I thought, okay, I'm a new person and I'm going to change everything, and I need to understand where I'm at. So I went to the Mayo Clinic to find out what would the Mayo Clinic suggest my calorie intake be. And they have a little calculator thing on there. And I put in my age, my height, and my weight. I think I put in at 190, 189, 180, whatever. And I said my caloric expenditure was very high. I was a very active person. Okay, so it says I need roughly 3,000 calories a day. Right? So then I went over to the CDC and I went to their BMI scale, their BMI calculator, and I put in my height and my weight, and I'm overweight. 29.8. I am 0.1% away from being considered obese, which would make my health insurance higher, my life insurance higher. It makes it difficult. I've done body fat for people like Mark, whose body fat's 6%, but he weighs 232 pounds, and his health insurance turned him down, or his life insurance turned him down. So for some reason they believed me. I did his body fat, sent it in, signed it, and they bought off on it, gave him that. So the point I'm making is, you try to find out the information that you need, and the information you get isn't necessarily correct. And we're all different. So they say I need 3,000 calories a day. Okay? I'm eating 4,700 to 5,200 calories a day. That's a big fluctuation, but it's just because I'm not disciplined enough in the off season. That's a lot of calories. That's 1,700 more calories than the Mayo Clinic says that I need. How come I'm not fat? How come I'm walking around at 6% body fat? I don't work out any harder than most of the people in this room. I know I don't work out any harder than you. I mean, you're in here all the time. You're doing our boot camp. But the point is that I feed myself consistently, clean foods consistently on a timely basis all the time. My protein intake is about 400 grams a day, which is probably 300 grams more than the RDA. And John Perlow says you need 1 gram to 1.5 grams to sustain your muscle mass of the weight that you want to weigh. I take in 400 grams of protein a day. First thing people always tell me is, isn't that bad for your kidneys? Check with your urologist, who told me that if you don't have any pre-existing kidney issues, too much protein won't cause kidney problems. Okay,
so how much did Perlow say you should eat?
1 gram to 1.5 grams per pound of body weight you want to weigh. So you and I have to talk about that, because I know what you want to weigh, but I don't think it's what you want to weigh.
But you said you ate 400 grams a day.
Right.
You don't want to weigh 400.
No, I don't.
Or 600.
That's exactly the point. Is the calories that I'm taking in, it takes your body has to work very hard to turn protein into energy and to turn it into fuel to rebuild the human body. Okay, the body rebuilds itself with amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks of protein. But protein is difficult to digest, so it makes your body become anabolic. I mean, and your metabolic rate speeds up because it has to work so hard. Carbohydrates aren't quite that tough, so they're rushed into the system pretty quickly. If you don't burn them off, they get stored as glycogen in the cell, and excess of that runs to the liver and gets stored as fat. So if you make your diet more protein than carbohydrates, you get your starchy carbohydrates early in the day, and you start to taper off your starches around noon or 1 and go to a fibrous carbohydrate, you'll lose fat. You may not lose weight, but you'll lose fat. And I would have to say 90% of the problems that I have with my clientele is they don't eat enough. They just don't eat enough. And it's the consistency that keeps screwing everybody up. If you're eating good for a week, okay, and then you go down to Florida and you spend a week down in Florida and you just don't eat good. You're on vacation and you get up and at 10 o'clock and you don't eat, and what you do eat sugar, and then later on you have a half a pizza and a margarita. You would be better off doing that and eating a protein bar and liver tablets and things to keep your metabolism up than not doing that. Because your body can still expect that it's going to be fat. The human body does one thing very, very well, and that's survive. And it doesn't matter what we think it wants to do or what we want it to do, it'll do what it has to. And what it's doing to 95% of us is what we've taught it to do. And that's store fat and burn muscle tissue. Once you get to the point where you can teach it consistently by practice over and over and over that it's going to be fed relatively the same things, relatively at the same time, for an extended period of time, you'll lose body fat. And that timing's different for everybody. Carrie, my fiance, when I first met her, was eating, how many calories a day would you say? Maybe 1,200, 1,300. And working out every day, like a fiend. I mean, that's the first thing that really attracted me to her, was the fact that she's there at 4 o'clock in the morning and then go work a 12-hour day. Or come in at night and do cardio. But the problem was that she was teaching her body that was going to start. If you take the body back to, let's say we all believe that we evolved, okay? What you're telling your body is, I've got to work harder to find food. I'm hunting more. I'm expending more energy to find less. So what happens is, in order to survive, the human body tells itself, okay, break down the muscle tissue, burn it off, and store fat. For one reason, fat burns as 9 calories. Muscle's just protein, it burns as 4. So you can live twice as long as you can on the stored fat as you can on anything else, and the human body is preparing for doomsday all the time. And it doesn't adapt to the stresses that are put on it unless that stress is consistent. I mean, if your body changed every time its environmental stress changed, one day we'd be covered with hair, the next day we'd be bald, one day we'd be skinny, the next day we'd be fat. I mean, it takes time. And whatever that time is, it is. It depends on how long you've done it and how long you've treated it, how long you've taught your body, this is the environment that I live in. I have people that come in and they eat good, what they consider to be good for a month, or close to what I asked them to do. They're like, oh, nothing's changed, I gained weight, blah, 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 and well, you know what? How long did it take you to get here? How long have you been going from this diet to this diet to this diet to this diet, and the body doesn't know what to do? It has no idea what to do, so what it does is what it does best. It stays alive. When you sleep, your body emits 3/4 of its growth hormone in your REM sleep. I mean, that's what I've read. That's what the authorities have told me, that people that know that your body does most of its healing in its sleep. What it heals with is protein, amino acids. Okay? So the first things to be healed are vital living systems. Cardiac, muscle, brain tissue, blood, all those things. And if there's enough protein left, you'll heal muscle tissue. But if not, too bad. The body knows you don't need a lot of this. You just need enough to get up and go kill something and eat it. Other than that, it doesn't really care. We want bigger arms and better chest, harder legs, whatever your girls want, better triceps. The body doesn't really care. Okay? So then, running that scenario all the way through, you wake up in the morning and what's going on? Your body is catabolic. It's feeding on itself because it spent the night healing. It spent the night burning off all the protein that you gave it, if you gave it any, because I hear so many people say, well, I don't eat after 5. Well, that's a pretty bad idea, because you're going to need protein in your sleep. So eat a T-bone steak and go straight to bed with some fibrous green vegetables. It slows down the digestive process. The protein works in the body like it's supposed to, and you'll wake up better. But the first thing out of bed, you got to eat. I mean, you have to feed it some rapidly absorbed protein. If you don't, you set yourself up for failure for the rest of the day. Well, how many people rush out of the house, grab a coffee? What'd you have for breakfast? Well, I didn't get anything until I got to the office and I ate a Luna bar and a cup of coffee. Okay, you ever really look at the ingredients in a Luna bar? It's like 22 grams of raw sugar. It's honey, it's still raw sugar. It's all carbohydrates. There's no protein, so you're still catabolic. You're still feeding on yourself. And maybe, if we're lucky, at lunch you'll have some shredded chicken on the salad. Anabolic means to build. It means that your body's in a recovery stage. It's in a positive state. Catabolic means is that your body feeds on itself to get done what it's got to do. So we want to be in an anabolic state. And the only way to get yourself in an anabolic state is through food, is to keep yourself fed and fueled. You know, because like I said before, the body feeds on itself if it has to. And the first thing it'll break down is muscle tissue. And muscle tissue being the most anabolic tissue in the body, it takes a tremendous amount of calories just to keep it alive. That's why I can eat 4,700 calories a day, 400 grams of protein, and still be 6% body fat. You know, and Carrie and I, Friday night we go to Vito's and we have pizza. And Saturday night we go over to Clancy's and we have a cheeseburger, double cheese. And Sundays we go to Andy Gunn's and have a cheeseburger and fries. And then Sunday night, go back on the diet. And it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday afternoon. We know what we want to do. At some point, you got to show some discipline in your life. You know what? There's not a lot of good information on sugar alcohol.
Yeah, what is it?
It's a derivative of sugar. I talked to Perlo about it. He says the jury's still out, yet they don't cause insulin surge. So, for our purposes, right, Atkins, if you read the whole book, wasn't a bad idea. But most people just read the first 30 pages, where he talks about getting into ketosis, which really probably never happens to anybody. But they really get into the bacon and the cheese and the meat. But they don't understand is what he's trying to do is decarb you, get your body to start to burn residual body fat by loading it with protein and fat to turn your metabolism up. But then he talks about going into a moderate carbohydrate, low fat, high protein diet later on in the book, but nobody ever gets that far because the beginning works. The trouble is it's kind of a trick because it doesn't work. It doesn't work long term because you're not teaching it anything, you're not learning anything, and eventually it gets to the point where you need the carbs because you do. Your brain runs on carbohydrates, you got to have it. So, you know, it doesn't work. If people would just understand that there's no secret weapon, there's no hidden secret that Greg and I know or Terry knows or anybody else knows that we're not sharing with you. What we're sharing with you is the truth. It takes consistency, it takes focus, it takes discipline, and it takes exercise. All right, but given that, it's a pretty good deal because you can have whatever you want. I have a woman right now, 64, started out at 21% body fat at 161 pounds, did a figure show, bucket list thing, got on stage at 4% at 130 pounds. She's 64. You know, that's pretty amazing. Roy dropped 75 pounds to get into a bodybuilding show because that's what he wanted to do. 75 pounds. He did exactly what I told him to do. Exactly what I told him to do. His calorie intake went from what you were about 1,200 to well over 3,000. Well over 3,000. I'd like to see it a little bit higher. But we can keep a diet log, not all the time, but when things start to go awry, we kind of reel him back in, go over the diet, do the body fat, and keep yourself honest. This doesn't have to be work. You know, this should be fairly simple and fairly easy. It's just something that you have to do with consistency. So that's why I like supplements, because we're all too busy to cook all the time. Okay, my diet consists of 4 meals from Fit Flavors a day, and I eat 6 to 8 bars, 50 liver tablets, 20 tablespoons of this, and two shakes from the protein powder. And why I do that is because it's easy.
You have that in here somewhere?
What?
What you just said?
What I eat? No, but I'll say it again.
Well, yours is all.
Yeah, mine's very extreme. Mine's very extreme. But the point is that is a lot of food. I'm getting 2,200 calories from MCT alone, plus all the food. And now I have people say, well, it's just so expensive. Come on, people. What's your cable bill? $200 a month? How much money you spend on a good bottle of wine? $80? That's bullshit. And you find money for the stuff you find important. If we don't start finding money for what's important, we're all going to be in a lot of trouble. Gary and I were talking the other day. She was telling me a story about getting into her elevator at work. She worked at Mobat, and the nurse was trying to get in a big wheelchair and a regular wheelchair. And there wasn't enough room hardly, so they all had to get against the walls. And Gary, you know, she kind of jokes, well, there's not a lot of room. And the lady goes, yeah, it's weird to see these small ones anymore. What? It's weird to see these small ones anymore. So now all of a sudden it's okay. Yeah, they just use the big ones now. When I saw the doctor's office, I thought those big seats were benches. I thought those were for 2 people. They're not. They're for 1 person. I mean, right now, the United States is 68% overweight, 35% clinically obese. And childhood obesity and type 2 diabetes is growing faster than it ever has in recorded time. Yet last year, this country spent $22.4 billion in and around the health funds. We're spending the money. So what's going on? I mean, I can't believe that we're spending $22.4 billion and everybody's lying to us. I mean, I think it's a combination. I think it's confusing. I think there's a lot of stuff out there that just doesn't make sense. I think there's a lot of us looking through rose-colored glasses and trying to find the loophole in the whole dieting program, or the eating program, or the exercise program. That's why the next big fad is the next big fad.
Well, you know, we're confronted with it every waking moment. Because
Right.
every TV show, every talk show has a cooking section. Then they'll go to a diet section.
Mhm.
You know, and it's very upsetting to your mind.
Right. And here's the thing, and I get that, because when I get ready for the bodybuilding show, and I'm fairly insecure when it comes to that, I'll start asking my buddies how I look, or what did you do for your last show? Because you really look great. And I get 18 million different ideas of what I should be doing, rather than sticking with the program that I figured out makes the most sense to me, and following all the way through, which I did last year, and I placed second in the Miss Missouri 52, and I think I was probably in the best shape of my life. So the point is, I think, is that you have to take a look at the program, and you have to look at it realistically. And if it sounds too good to be true, it is. But if it makes sense, which this does, if you sit back and you think about it and it makes sense, then stick with it until the miracle happens. I mean, the average change in the human body takes 6 weeks. The average person quits an exercise and dieting program at 6 weeks. It's not coincidence that those two lines intersect at the same time. People generally give up right before it's going to happen for them. It's not easy. Yeah.
When I do eat good and clean, I have a craving for chocolate or sweets or dessert. Do you go through that?
Sure. Yeah, sure. It's
What
your
do you
body craving the carbohydrates.
So what do you eat?
Eat more protein.
Eat more protein.
Eat more protein. Here's what I tell a lot of my clients. If you have that sweet tooth, and if you've got this craving where you just know you're going to eat like shit, it's inevitable. You've already got it in your mind. You're there. Eat a chew bar. Or eat one of her peanut butter balls. Just one. And if you still want to go cheat, go do it. But what happens 9 times out of 10 is you satisfy that irresistible craving, that out of control feeling, and you think about it a little bit. Okay, well, is it really worth it? No, it's not worth it. But what happens all too often with most people is that, not even up throughout the day. I got busy. I was in 2 meetings. I was playing golf. And you get home and you're just ravaged. You need to feed, and your body doesn't care. And you will grab and eat anything and everything. And I don't care what anybody tells me. That's exactly what happens. I have people come through the door here and tell me I don't eat anything. I take one bite of cake and it goes right to my ass. And you look at them, they're 265 pounds, body fat's at 35–40%. You don't carry that kind of mass eating one bite of cake. That's a lie. You carry that kind of mass because you are eating like shit. So don't come and lie about it. Come tell the truth. Let's figure it out. Lay it all on the table and be honest. Yes, sir.
Henry, Carey said that you may be a little extreme in your diet for intake of supplements and that type of thing.
I shouldn't say supplements, she said protein.
Oh, protein? Okay. Okay.
Well, I mean, when you say that I'm streaming my supplement intake, it kind of gives it that. You know what I mean? Well, I'm looking. I know you're not, but people look at supplements like steroids. You hear it all the time. Well, my brother's taking a pro hormone from Supplement Superstore. He's on creatine, and what's that creatine had the speed in it? Everybody was on. Whatever.
Yeah.
So, anyways, go ahead. What was the rest?
Well, I was going to. So you're burning a lot of calories also through your exercise, which is also a lot more than some of us do.
Yeah.
So how do you gauge this increase in caloric intake and the amount of exercise that you?
Here's how I would do it. Here's how I do it. Is I find a baseline, and a good baseline is go to Mayo Clinic. Put in your height, put in your weight, okay, and see what their baseline is for moderate exercise. And get it. And seriously chart your food, weigh it out, and look at it and say, okay, these are the calories I'm getting, and then bump it 250 calories a week until we start to see the change in body weight, which we've done with you by adding another serving of protein, and we'll add another serving of protein, but we've seen some movement. So we're going to kind of wait until we don't see any more movement. And then we're going to bump the food, change the exercise, whatever. It's a continuum. But how to start is there. Find your baseline. Get an idea of what's realistic. That's another thing I want to talk about, are realistic goals. Which really brings to mind this whole Oprah Winfrey thing. I remember when she was on the liquid diet, it was 500 calories a day. She lost a lot of weight and looked good. Then she got fat again. And then she hired a trainer, kind of did it right. Ate, trained, and that was at the time she came out on stage in her jeans, and I mean, she really looked good. And then she got fat again. And then the new thing was, well, be fat, but be healthy. and like yourself. Well, that's a problem. I mean, nobody wants to be fat, looking at me. You don't like yourself to get out of the shower, you look at the mirror, you're like, ugh, hurry up and get dressed. I don't want to see it. So now, she bought 10% of Weight Watchers. And it's the new thing. Oprah has anointed Weight Watchers. The stock went up, what, 8, 10 points? Crazy. Wish I knew she was going to buy it. I'd have bought stock in Weight Watchers and sold today. But now she would buy another 5%. This up and down like Carrie and I talked the other day is probably worse for you than just staying the same, because it taxes cardiac system, it taxes your blood pressure, it's hard on your digestive organs, it's hard on everything. You know, you don't want to yo-yo. You want to slowly lose the weight on a very well thought out, methodic process and get there healthy. You know, the RDA says to maintain proper cardiac health, we need 2.5 hours of cardio in 7 days. That's not a lot of cardio. And they suggest that we lift weights twice a week. It's not too much for us. I really don't think that's too much for us. That's why I like the supplements, because we're busy. It makes it simple. It makes it easy. Protein powders today taste like candy. I remember when we started, it tastes like paper mache. It was horrible. You get powdered liver. I mean, make a dinosaur out of it or eat it for lunch. Whatever. What do you want? Oh, hurry up.
You're
You know, that's your supplements. You said that you
I take 50 liver tabs a day. That's extreme. But she takes 30.
why? I mean, why that?
Because here's why. Liver tablets are just desiccated, defatted liver, beef liver. Okay, so it's really high in protein. The trouble with liver is it's high in cholesterol. These have the cholesterol taken out. So there's no cholesterol, no fat. It's a protein source, which is your amino acids we were talking about. It's high in B12 and it's high in iron, which helps hemoglobin production, helps your energy level and all that. But the best thing about liver tablets is they're easy. You can keep them in your pocket. You know, you get stuck reading films, or you get stuck in a meeting, or you get stuck in the car. Take 8 to 10 liver tablets. At least it keeps your body in a positive nitrogen balance and you stay anabolic, because the body has something to burn other than the muscle tissue. If we go, like you were talking tonight, if we go and we eat one of Jill's meals and all of a sudden an hour later, hour and a half later, 2 hours later, you're hungry again, eat something.